On today's, on the other hand, we talk with someone working to help Arkansans come together and make our state better. Here's a sneak preview.
This is how our current system is set up because the fewer people, the fewer citizens that are involved in the process, the better off the people in power are.
This is On the Other Hand. A podcast that features community leaders in Arkansas sharing their views and experiences on how to make Arkansans' relationships and communities better.
On the first part of our conversation with Kwami Abdul-Bey, Kwami shared some fascinating views about direct democracy. He talked about democracy as a verb, quoted Marshall Gantz in saying that we're either creating democracy or we're uncreating it all the time. I found that interesting, as along with his focus on both the grass tops and grassroots in trying to lead to community change.
Kwame values group decision-making, group efforts to make change, but he also has tremendous value in the individual, being courageous enough to find both the energy and the knowledge and the methodology to instigate positive change. I don't sense any kind of soreness out of him toward anyone. He just recognizes, and our listeners will hear this in his tones, he recognizes the need to listen carefully and to see if it's at all possible that we do not have win-lose circumstances, but instead have win-win circumstances.
Now let's get to the second part of our conversation with Kwame.
It's pretty clear to me, listening to you, that if you did not get a 4.0 in high school, the teachers got it wrong. However, you've also spent a lot of invested time and energy with the support of your family, I'm assuming, in pursuit of, quote, higher education. Not necessarily traditional higher, but you've branched into areas that most bachelor degreed folks or master degreed folks wouldn't consider because it is such a long reach. And you reached and you've achieved levels of outreach education that others have not. Has that come into play to where you are today? Or would you have arrived at this level of broad awareness without?
Thank you for that question. It gives me a lot to think about. And I want to actually start out with my 4.0 GPA in high school that I did not get. And I did not get a 4.0 GPA in high school because I was too busy playing around. And I went to high school because that's where everybody was. And I like to hang out with people. And it's interesting because I was a National Merit Scholar. I took the ACT in the 10th grade and got a 31. I took the SAT in the 11th grade and got a 1490. So I did not have to take any of those uh, tests again. But uh, as far as my GPA, I only had like a 2.9 because I didn't apply myself. I was too busy cutting class and skipping school and everything and playing around because I thought that I knew everything. And when I look at uh, my collegiate life and my collegiate experience, I graduated from Little Rock Central High School with 41 different full scholarship offers, and I was nominated to all four U.S. military service academies. I chose to go to the United States Air Force Academy because I wanted to learn how to ski. That's the reason I went. And when I was at the Air Force Academy, the Persian Gulf War broke out. And when the Persian Gulf War broke out, I immediately, I was going to say initially, but I immediately had a problem. And the problem that I had was the fact that I uh, was a practicing Muslim, and my commanding officer was a Israeli Jew, and that caused me a lot of problems that ended up with me um, during the Persian Gulf War. I was placed under house arrest, and I eventually ended up resigning. Uh, and I'm sorry, I still have a little bit of PTSD from that experience. Uh, but when I resigned from the Air Force Academy, uh, because of the effect that that experience had on me at 19 years old, I was homeless for about 4 or 5 years of my life, uh, just dealing with what happened to me and the things that were said to me. And I, it took me about 20, 25 years to go back to school. And did not really go back to school until, let me see, was it 20, 25 years? Yeah, it took me about 20, 25 years because I did not go back to school until the shutdown. Uh, and during the COVID-19 shutdown, when school was relatively cheap online, uh, I made an intentional decision to enroll in Liberty University. And I wanted to enroll in Liberty University because at that time during the shutdown, I was seeing a lot of the partisan bickering, a lot of the disunity that was going on in our political sphere. And I chose to go to Liberty University because uh, a lot of people that I disagreed with on the national level, they had some type of affiliation with Liberty University. So I wanted to learn what they thought and how they thought. So that's why I enrolled in Liberty University. And that's actually the first class I took. I had to memorize George Washington's farewell speech. So that's where I learned George Washington's farewell speech. And at Liberty University, I graduated from Liberty University with a 4.0 GPA. Uh, and I had a bachelor's degree in paralegal studies. And I graduated from Liberty University on a Friday, and I started uh, the University of Arkansas Clinton School of Public Service that next Monday. So I literally had a weekend off between my undergraduate and my graduate career. And uh, after learning everything that I learned at Liberty University, the reason I chose to go to the Clinton School of Public Service is because being a public servant from professional level, uh, because I was interested in being able to be a bridge not only between uh, people who consider themselves conservatives and people who consider themselves liberals, but also looking from the standpoint of me being someone who would be identified as being Black or African American, and being a bridge between my community and those who would self-identify as being white and their community. So being a bridge there. Also, me growing up uh, here in Little Rock, south of I-630, uh, and being a bridge to those people who uh, live on the other side of 630, in the Heights and Hillcrest and out in West Little Rock. So it was a multifaceted type of a bridge maker that I wanted to be. And I thought that I could get those skills from the Clinton School of Public Service. And I did get a lot of those skills, but I also realized that there's a certain level of skills that the Clinton School could not give me. And that's why I sought out the Vermont Law School to get the graduate certificate in restorative justice. When you ask me the question that you asked, and I'm answering the way that I'm answering, I'm like, I had a pretty non-traditional way of getting to this knowledge, but uh, all of the knowledge that I've gained in these degrees that I have, I've also was at ULR working on a master's in public administration, and I still have 2 or 3 classes left before I can get that. But everything was a goal so that I can get all of that knowledge and all of those skills and all of that information to bring it back to the community and figure out how to, um, you know, when you look at a mother bird will chew the food and regurgitate it for the baby birds. So how can I take all of this information and chew it up and regurgitate it or give it in bite-sized manners to these people in the community and these young people that I work with? How can I give them this information and then teach them how to put it into action?
Kwame, the type of work you've dedicated your adult life to is inspiring to many. How do they move from being inspired to becoming a part of grassroots with the knowledge that you have shared with them to make sure they aren't naive enough to think, if I scream and yell and carry a picket sign, people will listen?
One thing that I like to do is I like to give people an opportunity to understand uh, how public policy affects them, as I stated earlier, on the granular level. So I actually will sit down with people, and I've done this with the young people on Fat Lip with their parents. I tell them, pull out your water bill, pull out the gas bill, pull out the electric bill. Let's look at your car note, your mortgage, and let's kind of decipher some of the things on there and the different charges that they have on these particular documents. And uh, I try to get them to understand that this particular tax, this particular charge, all of these were the result of some type of legislative action and then some type of executive enforcement. And just as they're sitting here right now on this piece of paper, uh, you didn't know about them. And you did not know about them because you did not actively make yourself a part of the process. And you don't have to worry about what happened yesterday. You can make yourself a part of the process now. Uh, and just doing that and letting them know that, you know, it's really it's really much more at home. You know, you can get out there and you can pick it and you can talk about the horrors that are going on right now in Palestine, because those are real human horrors that we should all be uh, very, very concerned about. Uh, but at the same time, there are things that are going on in your sphere of influence that you can actually do something about. And all it requires is for you to acknowledge that you have power and you have voice. And once you acknowledge that, then you also need to acknowledge that you have the ability to attend this meeting, whether it's school board meeting, whether it's a city council meeting, whether it's a uh, public public utility commission meeting. You have the power. Just your presence can change things. And when I said that I'm most proud of my professional life working with the young people on Fat Lip Youth Talk Radio, uh, we just got the funding to start Fat Lip Youth Talk Radio back in April of 2025. And we went on the air in June of 2025. In the Jacksonville City Council, in their past meeting that just happened last week, over 2 dozen high school students showed up to that meeting. And they showed up to that meeting because members of the Fat Lip staff told them that they had the power to change what's going on in Jacksonville. And they showed up and they testified and they presented their concerns about how government is run in Jacksonville. And so all we have to do is we have to tell people that you can do this. The choice is not whether you're going to go to a school board meeting or whether you're going to go out and protest or picket. The choice is, when are you going to do both? Because are both give you some voice, but the more powerful voice is you being in those meetings when those decisions are being made.
Kwame, react to this statement. When I feel like giving up, when I feel like tossing in the towel, they have won. They have worked very diligently and spent a lot of money to make me feel impotent, powerless.
That statement is an articulation of what is going on right now. And it is an articulation of how a lot of people feel right now. And have to uh, we have to meet people where they are, and we have to understand that that feeling is a real feeling, and uh, it's a feeling of disempowerment and disengagement that has to be overcome, and we can't overcome it by just telling people that they're wrong because they're actually right. Uh, this is how our current system is set up, because the fewer citizens that are involved in the process, the better off the people in power are. So it's vitally important that we understand when people say this, we understand why they're saying it, and we have to give them the grace to feel that way, but we cannot leave them there. We have to give them the opportunity to see things differently. And when I hear people saying that, particularly people who are parents and grandparents, I remind them that it is our responsibility to ensure that we are leaving this world in a better predicament for uh, our children and for our grandchildren. You know, I am a uh, Afro indigenous uh, American, and when I go back to my Native American roots, uh, I'm reminded that uh, about the seven generations principle. And the seven generations principle tells us that anything and everything that you do, you must keep in mind how it will affect the next seven generations. And when I talk to people about looking to make sure that whatever they do or however they respond to this feeling, that it's done with the intent of sending out those reverberations to ensure that we're leaving this world as best we can for our children, our grandchildren, our great grandchildren. I think that kind of turns on a light. I've heard a saying recently that you can do one or two things when you're in the dark. You could either cuss the dark out and you can argue and moan and groan about being in the dark, or you can light a candle. I think lighting a candle is the better way to go. And so I'll do both. I'm going to argue that about the dark, but at the same time, I'm going to light a candle.
Well, I mean, there's been so much to think about that you've shared today, and so much hope, actually, I hear in the midst of it. And I would love for you just to kind of end with a message of hope to our listeners, and include it in anything else that you'd like to share.
Babatunde Thurston is a commentator in the public sphere, and he has a similar vision to the vision that I talked earlier when I talked about democracy being a action word, a verb. We do democracy, and he also talks about citizen. The word citizen is also a verb, and we're not citizens as far as us taking on an identity, but it's how we live our lives uh, that is the actual citizen. So let's not be a citizen. Let's do, and let's make citizen a verb. I believe in participatory democracy, and I believe that democracy works best when we all participate, and we all participate at a level that is comfortable for us, and it also acknowledges where we are at any particular time. And we must do this together, and we must do this in a way that not only acknowledges what we need as individuals, but also what we need as members of families, what we need as neighbors, what we need as community members. And these are, stacking stacking priorities. The individual priority, it would be the most primal priority. And then on top of that is family. Then on top of that is neighborhood. On top of that is community. But they're all interlocking at the same time. So uh, what I would do, as all the listeners out there, is uh, let's get up and do something. Let's get up and let's see what is being done and how we can engage and insert ourselves into the process. And uh, let's stop being spectators, because democracy is not a spectator sport. So let's all get in the game.
That's great. It's a good ending statement for our listeners. Kwame, thank you so much for spending this time with us today, and for all the work that you continue to do in our communities, and to try to encourage our young people and we as adults as well to be involved and to get off the bench. So thank you.
Kwame, thank you very much on behalf of our On the Other Hand listeners. They're going to be very grateful that you took the time to be with us today. And listeners, get out there and do what he said. Don't sit there, get up and act.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful day.
We hope you enjoyed the second part of today's conversation with Kwami Abdul-Bey. Remember that On the Other Hand offers dozens of interviews with other guests, and you can find each of those conversations inside your favorite podcast app or in the podcast page of the Braver Angels Arkansas website, which is at arkansas.braverangels.org.
And remember that On the Other Hand offers dozens of other interviews like this one. You can find the On the Other Hand podcast inside your favorite podcast app or on the podcast page of the Braver Angels Arkansas website. You can find that at arkansas.braverangels.org. On the Other Hand is sponsored by Braver Angels in Arkansas. Music was composed by Randall Standridge of Jonesboro, Arkansas, and was performed by the University of Northern Colorado Symphonic Band, Dr. Richard Main, conductor.
From your host, April Chatham Carpenter,
and guest co-host John O'Brien.
Join us in working to make our relationships and communities better.